Do you miss your mom, Dee Dee?
Yeah, I miss my mom.
When you look back, do you think there are ways that this could have been handled differently?
Absolutely, absolutely. I look at things in hindsight, and I realize that there were other options besides murder, but I was so sheltered that I couldn't see them at the time.
You went through the most horrific abuse, but why did you not expose your mum's lies to the police? Why did you take it as far as what you did?
Honestly, I didn't know the extent of the abuse myself. Some things were very obvious, like the physical abuse, but there was other things in the medical abuse side of it that if it wasn't very visual, like my mother said I had cancer. You can't see cancer, and my mother was telling myself and others that I was on cancer medication. So there was things like those little things that I didn't even know until upon arrest after the crime.
Doesn't matter. No matter what people believe about her, victim. A fact about Gypsy Rose is that she is a convicted felon. She is, in fact, a convicted murderer. She did spend time in prison for this offense.
All right, let's dig even deeper into the story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard and uncover just how far this web of manipulation stretches. You've heard the story, right? The poor girl trapped by her controlling mother, the sick, helpless victim who was forced to live a life of constant medical treatments and fabricated illnesses. Dee Dee Blanchard, the so-called Mother of the Year, crafted the perfect image of a struggling daughter, and Gypsy played her part perfectly.
I didn't hate her.
You wanted her dead.
Yes, but it was not because I hated her. It was because I wanted to escape her.
But here's the thing. This narrative that Gypsy is the innocent girl caught in a nightmare? It's nothing more than a well-executed performance. And Gypsy was not only the lead actor, she was the director too. Let's talk about those stories we all heard. The endless articles, the documentaries, the movies, the sympathy, the tear-jerking images of Gypsy in her wheelchair, all decked out in her pink clothes, her giant glasses, and her innocent smile. She became the face of tragedy. She was sick, poor, and so deserving of pity. And who could blame the world for falling for it? After all, we were presented with an emotional roller coaster, one that painted Dee Dee as the manipulative villain who kept her daughter in a constant state of illness for her own gain. People gave Gypsy all kinds of help, from charity donations to free trips and housing, because everyone thought she was an innocent little girl trapped in a mother's web of lies. But behind closed doors, Gypsy was playing the role of the victim way too well. This wasn't just about surviving an abusive situation. This was about making sure that her mother's lies benefited her at every turn. Gypsy didn't just go along with it all. She made it work for her. She knew exactly how to play the game, how to manipulate people into feeling sorry for her and giving her what she wanted. And the truth? The truth was a lot darker than the world ever realized. Here's where things take a turn. When Gypsy finally decided she was done with Dee Dee's control, did she reach out for help? Did she go to the authorities? Or ask for a way out that didn't involve murder? No, she didn't. Instead, she decided to manipulate the only person she could. Nicholas Gojon. This guy was vulnerable. He had autism, a low IQ, and had been struggling with mental health issues for years. He wasn't equipped to see through Gypsy's manipulation. But Gypsy saw his vulnerability as an opportunity. She built him up, made him feel like he was the hero in her life, and convinced him that the only way to escape was for him to murder her mother.
What is evil is that Gypsy Rose Blanchard used a man with autism, a low IQ, and other mental health issues that was collecting a disability check permanently to unalive her mom. She manipulated him for over 2.5 years. That is what evil is.
Nicholas was desperate for love and validation, and Gypsy was more than willing to feed him the fantasy that he was her savior. Oh, no. For years, Gypsy fed Nicholas with fantasies of saving her from her abusive mother, and he believed every word. She didn't just ask for his help, she made him believe it was his duty to rescue her. The way she manipulated him over those 2.5 years is chilling. She created a reality where Nicholas was her knight in shining armor, and his love for her clouded his judgment completely. He thought he was doing the right thing. He didn't understand the full gravity of what he was about to do. But Gypsy made sure he thought he was helping her.
I can't stand him. Because I went from one abusive person to another. I wish he would have been more responsible or told that I could walk.
While Dee certainly orchestrated much of the facade, let's not pretend Gypsy didn't benefit from it. She became comfortable living in this lie. Court documents, medical records, and even Gypsy's own words suggest she understood what was happening. She wasn't just a puppet. She was part of the act.
My mother would often tell other people and tell me that I would only have a life expectancy of 7, and then it was 15, and then it was 20. I think to some degree I knew it was a facade. However, I didn't know the malicious intent behind the facade.
Fast forward to the infamous murder. When Gypsy decided she'd had enough, she didn't choose to tell the truth or escape in a way that didn't involve bloodshed. Instead, she manipulated Nicholas Godejohn, a vulnerable man with autism and a low IQ, into carrying out her plan.
However, if you actually do some research and watch her interviews, she's not a good person. She's a master manipulator, and she learned by the best one there was, her mother. There's literally an interview where she's like, I learned to be the best liar with no conscience, no remorse, nothing, best manipulator from my mother. She learned all her tricks from her mother. If you watch her videos, anytime they ask about her ex-boyfriend, who her mom for her just threw his whole entire life away, has life in prison, she's like, can't worry about that.
Over 2.5 years, Gypsy built Nicholas up as her savior, her knight in shining armor. She used his desire for love and validation to her advantage, convincing him to kill her mother. Then comes the infamous video. Gypsy walked Nicholas through the crime. She showed him exactly where Dee slept, mimed the stabbing motion, and told him what to do. There was no question that this was premeditated. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing. Gypsy knew what she was doing.
Let's also talk about the fact that she sent Nicholas Godejohn, a man with autism, with a low IQ collecting permanent disability, a video instructing him how to unalive her mom.
She wasn't confused. She wasn't some naive girl caught up in a situation she couldn't control. No, this was calculated. She knew exactly how to manipulate the situation, and when it was time to pull the trigger, she made sure Nicholas was the one holding the knife. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. When the crime was done, and Gypsy was sitting in that interrogation room, what did she say? I didn't kill nobody.
People seeing you in handcuffs, they give you this weird look, and I'm like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, okay, number one, I didn't kill nobody, I don't do drugs, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I didn't do nothing. I'm a good girl.
She completely deflected responsibility, throwing Nicholas under the bus in the blink of an eye. She claimed she couldn't kill anyone, conveniently forgetting that she orchestrated the whole thing. She unlocked the door, guided Nicholas in, and showed him what to do.
Texted him when my mother went to sleep. I let him in the door. There were gloves waiting for him, plastic gloves, by the door.
You put them there?
I put them there. He came in, and he was wearing a hoodie and dark clothing and a scary t-shirt that had evil clowns on it. And I handed him the knife, and he said, get your ass in the bathroom now. And I went in the bathroom, closed the door behind me, and kind of got down in a kneeling position and put my hands over my ears so I couldn't hear anything.
And let's address her excuse. I wasn't in the right state of mind. Really, Gypsy? If that's true, then how did you plan this murder over 2.5 years? How did you convince Nicholas Godejohn to carry it out? The infamous video where she nonchalantly walks through her mother's bedroom, pointing out exactly where Dee sleeps and miming the act of stabbing, strips away any illusion of innocence. That video shows Gypsy as an active participant in the crime, not a helpless victim. He might have been the one physically holding the knife, but make no mistake, Gypsy was the one pulling the strings from the start. She knew how to use him to her advantage, and once the crime was over, she didn't hesitate to abandon him.
Everything's hard. My son, Nick, his side of the story told, and because her side is getting all this attention left and right, and he can get nothing. I believe Gypsy was just using him. She may have had a slight feelings for him, but when she got him in, reeled him in to her plan, then she pretty much started losing interest in him until after the deed was done, and then boom, threw him under the bus. I felt compassion because of what her mother did to her, but in retrospect, what she learned all those traits from her mom and turned around and used them on my son and to get out of her situation. All the press and everything that was being focused on this case, it just made me become more of a hermit. I didn't want to leave the house. Afraid somebody's going to notice me and, hey, you're a Vody John or whatever.
And don't forget about the details that Gypsy herself shared. Before the murder, Nicolas even told her she needed to shave her legs and present herself to him naked. Gypsy followed through, not because she was scared, but because she was playing the game. She knew exactly how to keep him under her control, how to make him feel like he was the one in charge, the one who could save her. She manipulated him every step of the way.
Knocked on the door 3 times, scratched the door twice, and that was code to let him in. But before I could let him in, he commanded me that I must shave my legs and any body hair and present myself to him naked.
Not right away.
Okay, what happens?
She wanted to shave her private part.
Okay.
And her legs.
Okay, she wanted to shave her private part and her legs?
Yes, for me.
Okay. She ever done that before, or is this something new?
Usually her mom does not let her shave her legs.
And the tragedy is that he believed her. Now, Nicholas is serving a life sentence for a crime that he never would have committed if it weren't for Gypsy's influence. Meanwhile, Gypsy is living her life, rebranding herself as a reformed woman. She's posting photos of her new life on social media, sharing updates about her baby shower, and acting like she's just another woman who's moved on from her past.
No matter what Gypsy Rose calls herself, an author, an influencer, an advocate, doesn't matter. No matter what people believe about her, victim. A fact about Gypsy Rose is that she is a convicted felon. She is, in fact, a convicted murderer. She did spend time in prison for this offense. So regardless of what she wants to call herself or what people want to think about her, that is a fact. So there's that.
But let's be clear. She might not have physically killed Dee Dee, but she was the mastermind behind everything. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is a convicted murderer, and no amount of rebranding or playing the victim changes that fact. And what's even worse? She's still manipulating the narrative. She's trying to rewrite history, painting herself as the girl who was only trying to escape an abusive situation. But let's get something straight. Gypsy knew exactly what she was doing. She wasn't some poor, naive girl stuck in a nightmare. She was a manipulative mastermind who got away with a crime, and now she's trying to play the role of the victim to gain sympathy. Here's the kicker. While Nicholas is serving life in prison for a crime he wouldn't have committed without Gypsy's influence, she's living her best life. Gypsy has carefully rebranded herself as an advocate and survivor, posting updates on social media about her new life, even sharing photos from her baby shower. It's as if she wants the world to forget what she did. But let's be real, Gypsy Rose Blanchard is a convicted murderer who masterfully played everyone around her. Sure, Dee Dee's behavior was controlling, even abusive, but Gypsy's narrative exaggerated her mother's actions to justify her choices. Dee Dee was never formally diagnosed with Munchausen by proxy. In fact, some of Gypsy's health issues could be linked to her legitimate diagnosis of 121.1 deletion syndrome. Gypsy used this narrative of victimhood to manipulate not just Nicholas, but the public as well. So, who is Gypsy Rose Blanchard really? Is she the helpless victim she claims to be, or a calculated mastermind who knew exactly how to get what she wanted? The cracks in her carefully constructed narrative are undeniable. Nicholas may have held the knife, but Gypsy pulled the strings. For Dee Dee's family, this tragedy goes far beyond the murder. The loss of a loved one can never be replaced, and the pain that Dee Dee's family feels is immeasurable. They lost someone at the hands of Gypsy's manipulation. And for Nicholas, he's serving a life sentence because Gypsy made him believe he was doing the right thing. He's paying the price for a crime he was coerced into committing, while Gypsy is out there enjoying a new life and trying to erase her past. So let's be real, Gypsy Rose Blanchard isn't the innocent victim here. She's not the hero. She's not the survivor. She's a manipulator who knew exactly how to use the people around her, and she's still playing the game. The next time you see her trying to frame herself as a hero or advocate, remember Nicholas, remember Dee Dee, and remember the truth. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is a manipulator, and she's still pulling the strings today. All right, you've heard the truth, the full story, and the dark reality behind Gypsy Rose Blanchard. No more fairy tales, no more pity parties. We've uncovered the manipulative mastermind who pulled the strings and played the world like a puppet. So before you get swept up in her carefully crafted narrative, remember the real victims, Dee Dee, her family, and Nicholas, whose life was destroyed because of Gypsy's manipulation. But hey, I want to know what you think. Was Gypsy the victim she wants us to believe, or was she the one pulling the strings from the start? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get the conversation going. And as always, stay curious, stay critical, and never stop questioning what you're told. This is the truth, and we're just getting started. See you in the next one.